Good. Getting set up, making sure we getting set up on YouTube, making sure we set up on Facebook. Let me just make sure everything is all right. Awesome. All right. I think we good. I think we good. What's good, family? What's good, y'all? How you doing? Hope your week is going all right. We know Christmas is right around the corner. My name is Frederick Johnson, the fourth Mr. I'm going to graduate, and I help students to get to and through college. I love it. It's my passion. It's what I was called to do. It's what God put me on this earth to do. And I get a lot of joy from seeing students and families be successful, especially when we talk about education, especially when we talk about college. And so, welcome to College and Career Convos. This is a series I'm going to be bringing back every week. This is, I think, the third week in a row I've done it. So, we're going to keep this thing going each and every week. And the goal is to make sure parents have the right information, right? College, even though I believe college is checkers, not chess, you still got to know the rules of engagement. You still got to know the terminology. You still got to know the processes, right? You still have to know the strategies. Even in checkers, there's a strategy. And so I want to make sure that parents have all the information. I want to make sure they know all the moves that they need to make. In college and career convos, it's all about breaking that information down and making sure you know what to do with it. So we're going to dig into real topics. I like this to be engaging. So definitely, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this the replay, go ahead and engage in the comments. I want to be able to answer questions. I want to be able to have that conversation with you. So let's do it. Let's do it. Today's topic. Today's topic is a really good one that I'm really passionate about. College athletics. I'm sure a lot of students, a lot of your children, a lot of you have children who play sports in high school, right? If they play sports in high school, I want you to go ahead and type me in the comments, whether you're watching this live or you're watching it, whether watching it after the fact, watching a replay. Go ahead and type me in the chat. And if you have a student or your child wants to play in college, they've told you, I want to play in college, I want to compete at the college level, type college in the comments, type college in the chat, type college in the comments in the chat, because they out there. I've met them, I've talked with them, I've helped to counsel them. And so I know college is one thing, college athletics is a whole nother ball game. Again, pun intended. It's a whole nother ball game, right? There's all kind of different loops on top of what you have to do to get into college to be able to navigate those waters. So what we're gonna talk about this afternoon, this evening, is when you have a child who wants to compete. They've told you, I want to play at that next level. You want them to play at the next level. What are some of the biggest things you need to worry about, or not worry about, but plan for, get ahead of, make sure that you're informed about? So I got 7 points that I'm gonna talk through, and I like to keep these to 30 minutes. So if I don't get to all of them in 30, we'll do a part two next week, because I want to make sure to really dig in deep to each topic. But college athletics, again, it's a different monster, it's a different beast, it's a different playing field, right? And so I want to make sure, if that's something that you and your child are serious about pursuing, we're gonna dig into what that looks like. If you're serious about really pursuing being a college athlete, there's specific things that you gotta be able to do. There's specific conversations that you gotta have. There's specific information that you need. So we're gonna talk about that. So the first thing, and this is you might be like, all right, Captain Obvious, but I gotta state the obvious. I want to make sure, because I know there's parents out there that don't get this point the way I'm about to make it. Number one, college is more competitive than high school. College is more competitive than high school. And I know you might be saying, well, I kind of know that already. I already know that. Here's what's different though. It goes from being fun. In high school, you're playing for the love of the game, right? It's a fun sport. Friday Night Lights, whatever the sport is, there's a component of fun. There's competitiveness, but there's also a component of fun. When we talk about college athletics, that goes away, because it's all about winning. It's all about winning. That's the one thing the coach, not that coaches aren't concerned about winning, but typically, right, your coach in high school works at the high school, teaches something. He gonna be all right if y'all don't have a great season, right? He'll be back. He'll probably be asked back depending on how competitive the school is, right? His longevity is a lot different than a college coach who at the most prestigious or competitive programs are being paid millions of dollars, right? And if they're out of a job, they have to find something else. They don't have a backup, right? But also we know college athletics is almost like an amateur sport, right? It's like an amateur sport, almost like a pre-professional sport. And so it's taken really serious. So when your child starts to compete at the college level, understand that that coach, as much as they came into the room, talk to you how much about how much they're gonna treat your son or daughter like their own, and help develop them into a great young man, a young woman, and do all these things to ensure that they graduate. Those things might be true. There are great coaches out there, but also just understand that they're trying to sell you on going to the school. They're trying to sell you on offering or signing that offer letter with them, right? It's a game. They're trying to stack their numbers, trying to get a number of people in position so that they can win. It's all about winning. I've had students who have performed really well at the high school level and then get to college, and the coaches treat you different. To a certain extent, they don't care as much. And I won't say that they don't care as much. They care about winning much more than they care about building a relationship with you. Winning comes first and foremost. And so the way that you interact with somebody when it's all about winning is much different than when there's a bigger component on the development side, right? There's a bigger component on the self-awareness side that high school coaches tend to worry about. And so just understand that dynamic and the way your child is going to engage college coaches is just going to be different. They're going to be barking at them all the time, right? They're going to be getting in there. They're going to be getting in them because it's about winning. Something else that's different is just the level of independence. You might be coming from a team where you were one of the star athletes, right? One of the top one, two, five, however many athletes on your team, in your city, in your district, in your state. When you get to college, you're competing with everybody that was number one in their state, their district, and on their team, right? And so that's something that it can be difficult for students to realize, oh, I'm not the best anymore. And when you show up, and actually, I was about to get to a point that I'll get later. You realize that you're not the best anymore, right? You are one of many. You're in a sea, and you have to fight your way to get playing time. Shoot, when you join the team, you have upperclassmen that are ahead of you, so you have to actually earn your playing time. For some people, it's been a while since you had to earn playing time. You always been the man. You always been the woman. You always been the best on your team. That's not necessarily going to be the case when you get to college. So you got to prepare yourself mentally for that. Parents, you gotta make sure you have a very transparent conversation with your child about this. Make sure the coach is talking to your child about this. It's not gonna be the same when they get to college. So that's the one thing you got to understand. College is more competitive, but in the respect of winning is first and foremost. For most of those students, you're really just a number until you start to add value to the winning. That's when coaches are going to start paying attention, right? And then in terms of the independence, you have to get to practice on your own. You have to get to study hall on your own. You have to make sure you're going to training and workout. There's a whole schedule that you have to balance that we'll get into. But know that it's going to be more competitive and it's going to be different. The second point, and again, this is going to be one that might hurt a little bit, but especially and this is for those seniors and those juniors. Parents, if your child ain't been offered or recruited yet, right? Football season is over with. Basketball season is just started. But if your child hasn't been offered or recruited yet, is not likely to happen. It's not likely to happen unless they just like really blow it out the water in their senior year. They probably not getting offered, right? So y'all need to start making plans to be proactive in that, right? Be proactive in that. And I know, and I guess I'll hop to my next point too, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that, like, Don't go into this season, especially if you're a senior, thinking like, oh, if I just have a great season, if I just ball out this year, I'm gonna get an offer. Still ball out. Don't get me wrong, right? You still need to put it on tape. But at the same time, don't expect them to start coming out the woodworks, especially if you're a school that doesn't have a whole lot of college coaches coming to visit anyway, right? And so be prepared to still ball out, but y'all are gonna have to be a lot more proactive in that process. Which brings me to my next point. You need film. As much as coaches will be able to look up your stats that will look good, they want to see how you perform in game situations. And there are some schools that do a great job. They have a lot of resources and do a great job of filming games and helping students to create their huddle accounts. And there are other schools that don't have as much resources or aren't prioritizing filming your games. So if you don't already have somebody attending the games, a family member, brother, sister, and filming that, y'all need to do that. Now, if the season has already passed, there's not too much you can do about that. You might be able to maybe find some footage on the web if the local news covered it, but again, that's probably sparingly. They're only using clips and sound bites. They're not using a whole lot. But if your sport is either in season or coming up, and you don't have a lot of film, get film. You need film. They need to be able to see how you can perform. They don't just want to see the stats. Stats are important, but they want to see how you perform on the field, how you perform against live competition. That's what they want to see. They want to see how you react in moments under pressure. That's what they want to see. And the tape don't lie, as they say. Tape don't lie. So you got to make sure you have somebody recording those. Have a huddle account. Have a YouTube account. I mean, there's so many things you can learn about how to cut video and all that stuff. Just YouTube it. I'm sure you'll be able to find somebody that can coach you up on or teach you how to cut this video and make highlight reels. But you need that tape. You ain't going nowhere without tape. You ain't going nowhere without tape. So get that tape. The next one, we're moving through these pretty fast. So I feel like we're gonna get through all of them. The next point is oh, my bad. Let me rewind a little bit. There's another point on top of the film. So in addition to the film, remember I talked about being proactive. You're gonna have, when I say be proactive, I mean you're gonna have to do the outreach. You're gonna have to do the outreach to coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches, position coaches. Y'all gonna have to do your due diligence. You're gonna have to dig, find those positional coaches, reach out to all of them. I actually have a form letter that you can send. If you want that letter, type letter in the comments. If you want that letter, if you want access to that letter, just type letter in the comments and I'll go ahead and send that to you. But there's a certain way you need to do outreach to these coaches, right? And I know there are certain periods where coaches can or can't reach out, but student athletes can always reach out to the coaches. You can always reach out, and that primarily should be through email. But a lot of coaches and athletic programs are really active on social media. A lot of websites have these recruitment forms that you can fill out and put in your stats, your height, your weight, all those different things. So go ahead and find that. But y'all gonna have to dig. Y'all gonna have to become detectives. All right. But the other piece that is really important in that is you got to learn how to sell yourself. Parents, your student athletes have to know how to sell themselves in two main areas. The first is their leadership. At the college level, remember, I talked about coaches are concerned with winning. They want to win. And unless you are like a top ranked student athlete in the nation, they're not going to overlook deficiencies in your leadership. If you have character issues and character flaws and you're known as being a bad apple, that could weigh heavily, right? Your talent might not outweigh that depending on how high you're ranked. If you're not ranked at all, that could be something that's really influential in that school deciding if they want to take you on or not, if they want to offer you or not. So you got to learn how to sell your leadership skills. Talk about if you're a student who makes good grades, talk about what you've done in the classroom. Talk about your dedication in the classroom. on the field, on the court, whatever the case might be. You want to talk about those leadership moments. You don't have to be a captain to be a leader. What are certain things you do to be a leader? When you're not in the game, what are you doing? At practice, what are you doing? Outside of practice, what are you doing? How are you galvanizing, building mindsets for other teammates? Are you coachable? Those are all things they want to know. You want to be able to talk about and give evidence as to how you've done those things, how they've shown up. All right. The other thing that you got to be able to speak to is your skills on the field. And honestly, the tape don't lie. So the tape is going to be able to tell how fast you are, how smart you are on the field. Or do you know down and distance? Are you aware of situational football, situational basketball, situational baseball, whatever the sport is? Are you aware of situations? Are you a critical thinker? That's what they want to know. And you have to be able to talk about that to them. You have to be able to elaborate on that. Too many of y'all student athletes are just relying on just your talent, just your talent. Your work ethic, your intelligence is going to take you further than your talent, because when you get to college, everybody's talented, everybody good. So what's going to separate you is obviously continue to grow your skill. That doesn't stop when you get to college, but you have to also improve your intellect. You have to also improve your leadership. You have to also improve your coachability. So those are all things that you need to be able to talk about. Practice talking about it, right? Kind of get you a script. And the script I have, or the email, the form letter I have, kind of gives you a little bit of a start on how to do that. Right? It gives you the foundation about things to be ready to talk about. The recruitment form kind of gives you some things, but you should be able to answer those questions about leadership. So practice that. Practice that. Which brings me to my next point. Grades matter. Grades matter, y'all. You have to be NCAA or NAIA eligible. There's a certain GPA that you need to be eligible. I believe, I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's a 2.0 or somewhere in that range. You have to be eligible to play. And once you make it, let's say you are fortunate enough, your child is fortunate enough to be able to play at the college level, they have to maintain a certain GPA to stay eligible. So grades matter, especially for some of y'all athletes. And look, I was guilty of this too when I taught, right? You had star athletes in your class. You kind of work with them to be able to make sure that they can stay eligible. And that's something, honestly, I did for all my students, not just student athletes, but I know that that's a part of the culture too, right? Especially if it's a star athlete, to be able to keep them eligible so they can play in games. It ain't gonna be like that in college. Again, if you're not a top recruit, nobody's cutting for you like that. Ain't nobody cutting for you like that. You're gonna have to earn them grades. But grades matter. You have to remain NCAA and NAIA eligible. You got to. Grades is a huge part of that. Now, there are some schools that will lower admissions standards for athletes, but these are often ones that are being recruited. If you're planning on walking on, you got to meet the regular standards like everybody else. There's no getting around that. But grades matter. You can't just depend on your talent. You can't just depend on your performance on the field, on the court. You have to be a beast in the classroom too. And something that I always want to push student athletes on is, you have to think about what is the transferable skill of you dedicating time to your academics and dedicating your time to your playbook. The best athletes just don't go out there and try to fly around and make plays. They know the tendencies of the opponent. They know the playbook. They're smart. They have intellect. The same is true in the classroom. Now, does that mean you're going to be on A's and B's and be on the all academic team? No. But you can't just walk in class thinking because you're a college athlete that you're going to be taken care of. And so that's my push, is that you have to match whatever intensity that you're trying to show in the field, match that with your work ethic in the classroom. Put in that work, show effort, go to tutoring, ask questions, engage. I know there are a lot of high school coaches who hold their student athletes to a really high standard, who want their athletes to be models for students at the school. And as a former high school athlete, that's something that I took pride in, right? You don't want to be the dumb jock. right? And so make sure you carry that with pride, being a student athlete in high school, and as you pursue that journey in college. Next point. Next point. This is a big one. This is one I learned a few years ago, and the coach had to put me on game about this. Junior colleges, sometimes referred to as JUCOs, right? Community colleges, 2-year schools. They are not easier in terms of competition. They are not easier. Don't think, oh, I can't get into the LSUs, and maybe that's a bad example, but I can't get into the LSUs of the world or the Alabamas of the world. So I'm gonna try to go to Mississippi, Texas, or go to another school and go to a 2-year. I'm telling you, they are not easier to make. It's not easier to compete. It's not easier to make the team. I don't know if y'all saw the show Last Chance U. If you're a student athlete and you haven't watched that show, if you're a parent and you haven't watched that show, watch that show. They just put a new basketball season out, and I think there's like 3 or 4 seasons of the different football teams. That will put you on game. What happens at these D2 at these community colleges is the people that academically couldn't make it or couldn't get into the LSUs, the Alabamas, the Oregons, the Power Five, D1 schools. When they can't get in there, the first place that they go to are community college schools. And so what you have happening at these community colleges is you have all of these athletes that are D1 talent, but just couldn't cut it academically, competing. So if your child is not a D1 talent, going to a community college is not going to make them a D1 talent or put them in a position where it's easier to compete. If anything, I would say it's more competitive at the community college level, way more competitive because it's a lot more cutthroat. These athletes have 1 to 2 years, maybe 3, right? Most aren't trying to spend that amount of time at a community college, but in 1 to 2 years, they're trying to make that jump. So when they're at that community college, they're trying to eat. It's every man and woman for themselves. Now, of course, yes, there are team sports, so you got to work together so everybody can win. But don't be surprised when you get to that community college, you're trying to hoop, and old boy is just trying to get buckets the whole game. He's not looking to pass the ball in certain situations. It's because he's trying to get out of there. She's trying to get out of there. They're not worried about you. They may not necessarily even be worried about winning. They just worried about having good stats and having good tape. So understand that's a whole different dynamic. The move is not JUCOs. If your student is really serious about playing at the college, I'm talking about passionate. I'm talking about like they're willing to do anything that it takes to play at the next level. You want to start looking at Division 2 and Division 3 schools, particularly those that are private. Now, affordability is going to become an issue at this point because D3 schools, and I believe D2 schools, Division 1 and Division 2, they don't offer scholarships. They don't offer scholarships. And so your student is going to have to make it on their own merit, their own academic standing to get an academic scholarship. Now, sometimes the schools have different things set up where they set you up with work study or stipends and different things like that. But if you're really serious, if your child is really serious about playing at the next level, what they need to do is think about going to a Division 2 or Division 3 school, a private school in particular, because the competition is going to be less. You don't have D1 athletes going to those schools. There are plenty of junior colleges that they're going to go to, or community colleges that they're going to be able to go to. And so usually you don't have nearly as much competition. Remember, the goal is to get tape. The goal is to get tape. You got to put your pride to the side. Tell your child to put their pride to the side when it comes to choosing a school to continue their athletic journey, their athletic career. It's about getting tape. So if you could get a good year or two of tape, then you could look to transfer to a school. But again, you got to be proactive in that process. I think we're gonna be able to squeeze. We got time. We might go a little bit over, but I think I'm gonna squeeze these last 2 points in. The sixth point that I want to make sure they hit home, and this is for those high school students who are in the process of talking to students, to coaches about playing ball. Confirm everything. Them coaches are gonna sell you a dream. We're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. We're gonna have this. We're gonna have that. I see you doing this. I see you doing that. They're gonna sell you a dream. That's a job. That's what I would do. My goal as that coach is to get you to attend my school to play football, basketball, whatever the case might be. That's my goal. So I'm gonna say whatever I have to say to convince you, the parent, and you, the student, to come to my school. So make sure, if especially if they're promising scholarships, it has to be written down. Don't If it's not in writing, it don't count. And I know it could be weird to ask, right? Because it can seem like there's a level of mistrust. But what I would say is, if they're really that serious about getting you to the school, getting your child to that school, then they'll have no problem putting it on paper. Have no problem doing that. Just tell them, hey, can you send this? All the things we talked about, it sounds great, sounds awesome. Can you send that to me in writing? Particularly from the head coach or assistant coach or whoever, somebody from the, like, you need somebody to confirm that that's true. If they talked about a scholarship, I need to know the numbers. I need to know what that scholarship covers. Are we talking about just the meal plan? Are we talking about just housing? Are we talking about a full ride that covers everything? Have them put it in writing so you know exactly how much and exactly what it covers. I had a student and I won't say what college this was, but I had a student. She was competing in basketball. She was a pretty good basketball player at the high school level, and she went to go and play. She had a signing day and everything at the college, but what she didn't pay attention to is that they weren't having her sign an offer letter. They weren't having her sign an offer letter that day. What she was signing was an intent to enroll. Intent to enroll. Right? An offer letter is you, your student, your child committing to playing at that college or university. It's like, I'm committing to y'all. I'm playing for y'all. An intent to enroll, this is something that doesn't even apply specifically to college athletes. This is something that applies to all college students. It applies to all college students. It really just says, like, I plan on going to this university. Has nothing to do with athletics. Has nothing to do with athletics at all. It just says, like, I'm going to attend. And so what happened was, I believe this was midway through the season, they decided to take everybody's scholarship. Well, actually, let me say this. The coach got fired. They hired a new coach, and that coach was like, there was never a scholarship offer here, or there was nothing locked in. And so she decided to quit the team. So y'all got to make sure this paperwork is on point. A former principal told me this, and I never forgot it. Documentation rules the nation. Documentation rules the nation. If it's not written down, if you don't have paperwork that explains and that says what they're talking about in detail, it ain't real. If they ain't got it in detail, it ain't real. So make sure that y'all get it in writing. Get past the awkwardness of asking the coach, because if they want you, they will have no problem sending it. And my last point, and this is a big one. This is one I feel really, really passionate about, and this is something that maybe everybody won't agree with. But look, we not here. I'm not giving y'all this info for y'all to agree with me. I'm giving you this information so that y'all can make the right decisions and make the best decision. Do what you want with it. If your student has dreams and desires of going pro, playing professional basketball, professional football, running track professionally, this is not to dampen their dreams. I want them to pursue that with every fiber of their body, every bone in their body. I want them to pursue that with everything that they have. You should want them to pursue, if they're serious, you should want them to pursue that with everything that they have. But if they're not going to go all in, if they're not going to be willing to commit everything to going pro, don't do it, because you're going to be sadly disappointed. You're going to be disappointed. Realize what it takes to make it to the NFL. Realize what it takes to make it to the NBA. Realize what it takes to make it to the WNBA. It's not easy. 1% of college athletes, I believe, make it professionally. 1%. 1% make it professionally. So that means for every, I want to put it in perspective for y'all. For every 100 college athletes, one one will make it. And depending on what school you're at, it's gonna be less than 1%, right? If we're talking Division 3, I'm sure it's like 0.00 something. If we're talking D2, I'm sure it's 0.00 something. If we're talking a non-power 5 school, it's probably 0.00 something. So it's 1% or less than 1%. And that's just getting drafted, right? We're not talking about how long they stay in the league. We're just talking about making it to the league. So realize that unless you're going to commit everything that you do to making it professionally, that means your diet is going to be on point. That means you're going to commit to training. That means you're going to commit to getting the grades. That means you're going to commit to being a student of the game. You need to eat, sleep, and crap that sport. Whatever sport, there should be nothing else that matters to you. That's the level of commitment that you're going to have to go to in order to make it pro. And then you still might not make it. You still might not make it. But unless you commit everything to it, you're not going to make it. There's a student I used to teach. Again, I won't say his name, but there's a student I used to teach when I first started teaching. Stellar, stellar high school athlete, high school football player. Was a beast. I mean, I had never seen I never really seen like a top national player play in person before, but he was a beast. It was like a man amongst boys, was outrunning everybody, right? He did what he needed to do in the classroom. I would say he wasn't lazy when it came to his academics, right? But when he made it to the college level, he couldn't cut it. He couldn't cut it. He got into some trouble, ran into some things, and it didn't work out for him. I say all that to say, here was a player who was ranked, I want to say at the time, he might have been like the number 1 or 2 athlete in the country in terms of football. They kind of categorize you in position, but he was an athlete. He kind of played a little bit of everything. He was the number 2 or top 5 in the country, and went to a college, a Power 5 school, and did not make it to the NFL. I won't say he didn't pan out, right? His college career wasn't trash, but also it wasn't good enough to get him to the NFL. And I would be willing to bet if you ask anybody that was around him when he was in high school, it's like, oh, he going to the league. It's not 1%, y'all. And so if you're not willing to outwork people on top of your talent, if you're not willing to become a student of the game, it's not going to happen. So if you're not willing to commit to that, let's just say you have a goal of competing in college, and that's it. Let's not even go pro. And another thing I want to talk about too is that I know a huge reason for athletes wanting to go pro or student athletes wanting to go pro is the money, right? You want the lifestyle that comes with being pro. I think part of it could be the love of the game. Part of it could be the love of the game, but another part is the money, the lifestyle that it could create for you and your family. Let me tell you this. There are easier ways to make $1 million than trying to make it to the NFL. There are easier and more surefire ways to make $1 million than making it to the NFL. If you're a student athlete and you're like, I'm doing it because of the money, there's an easier way. The chances of you owning, and I'm just using this as an example, the chances of your child owning and franchising their own line and string of McDonald's, they have a higher likelihood of doing that than making it to the NFL. The chances of your child starting a business and making $1 million, the chances are greater than making it to the NFL. The chances of your student learning how to invest money and letting their money grow for them and investing in real estate to become a millionaire is much, much more likely than trying to make it to the NFL. So parents, if your child is doing it to create a lifestyle, they need to think of other skills because there are easier ways and more surefire ways to make $1 million or to become wealthy or to become rich. And again, to be quite honest with you, if you're not a top athlete or you aren't willing to commit everything to getting and achieving that goal, then don't do it. Find something that you are willing to commit everything to, that you are passionate about, and you're gonna make way more money than you think. Way more money than you think. Let me make sure I don't have any other points. Few other points. So there are careers in sports that they could pursue. There are careers in business. A lot of your athletes, especially if they're maybe top tier or have some cachet, have some notoriety, they can use their image and likeness. Right? You are a brand. As an athlete, especially if you're good in that time, you are a brand. You can leverage that. You can find a way to leverage your brand, right? But also think about, what are the things that I'm like talented and gifted in when it comes to sports? Am I really good at blocking? Am I really good at digesting plays? Am I really good at training? Am I really good at running fast? Am I really good at jumping high? Monetize that as a skill that you could teach others. Am I really good at preventing myself from injury? There are a bunch of skills that your child can monetize and brand and make money and teach others how to do it. Lean into that. Lean into that. Lean into that. So I think those are all my points. I always feel like I'm missing something. Just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I think those are the big things. I think those are all the big rocks, all the big topics that you want to be able to cover. So if this was valuable to you, I want you to type valuable, type value, type value in the comments. Just let me know, because I know you could be watching live, you could be watching after this fact. I want us to continue this conversation. So if anything in this conversation was of value to you, just type value for me. Type value in the chat. Type value in the comments. Let me know. Make me feel good. If there's any questions you still have, let me know. I want to be able to be in dialogue with you. I want to be able to talk with you. A few things I want to plug real quick. One, I got my book coming out, y'all. I'm actually, after this, I'm going to go pick the book up. The sample copy just came in. So I'm gonna take a look, make sure everything is good, and then we're gonna start, really pushing this thing. The name of the book is called Grind to Grad: 10 Keys to Fun, Freedom, and Finishing Your Degree. In it, I put my top 10 keys that students have to master that will help them graduate from college. It took me 7 years, y'all. It took me 7 years to graduate from college. So trust me, I know. I know what it takes. Look, I dropped out. I lost my scholarship. I did all that. I started on a full scholarship and lost it. I changed my major 3 years in. So I know what it takes to graduate from college. And in the book, I broke down all the things that will let your student know how they can do it. And this is a great book if your student is in college already, or if they're in high school. It's never too early to start. And what I love about the way I wrote this book is that it addresses not just the skills. I'm going to teach you, right? We're going to reflect on some stuff, but also the mindset. A huge part of it is mindset. Such a huge part of graduating and finishing anything, but particularly is your mindset. What is your mindset around finishing? Right? You have to make the decision to not give up. And with that being said, that's why in addition to the book, that's why I also started a brand called I'm Gonna Graduate. I'm Gonna Graduate. I'm Gonna Graduate. That's what I did. That's what I had to keep telling myself. When I was failing classes, when I lost that scholarship, that's what I had to keep telling myself in order to keep going. Because there were definitely times where I felt like, is college for me? I'm failing. I'm not doing well. This ain't working out. I don't know if it's cut out for me. I started and I committed to finishing. I had to keep telling myself, I'm going to graduate. Or I'm going to graduate. I'm going to walk across that stage. Especially when I saw people that started after me graduate before me, it became a problem. And so you can see the hoodie in the background. You can see the hoodie on me right now. I got the hoodies for sale. If you want the hoodie, drop the word hoodie in the comment. You can also go to the link in my Instagram bio and get you a hoodie. I also have t-shirts too if you want the t-shirt. I'm gonna graduate. It's a movement, y'all. It's a mantra. It's a mindset. I'm gonna graduate. And then the last thing, and this is an early plug, but I'm gonna start pushing it now. I'm gonna be hosting a virtual student conference in February. Still locking down the date. I'm gonna be hosting a free virtual conference in February for high school and college students, all built around you having the most successful semester, the most successful year you've ever had as a student. We're gonna dig into that. I'm gonna be talking about the book, right? But I'm also be giving y'all game, be giving y'all nuggets, giving y'all gems about how to do it, right? I'm all about teaching skill and building will. Teaching skill and building will. So we're gonna do that in this virtual conference. If you buy the book, you're gonna get a free VIP ticket to the conference. A free VIP ticket to the conference. What does that mean? We're going to do a Q&A before and a Q&A after. And I'm going to answer any questions that y'all have, right? Any questions that y'all have. We're going to help problem solve some things. So one more plug. If you're a parent and you are dedicated, I know some parents that watch this are going to be like, oh, that was nice. I don't really care. But some of y'all I know are dedicated. I've met you. I've talked to you before. You're invested in your child's success. You are invested in them being successful. This is for y'all parents. If you want to be part of a community of parents that have that same energy, that same vigor, type community in the comments. Type community in the comments. I want to connect you to my private Facebook group of parents where I'm posting things. We're building with one another. I'm sharing additional resources. Go ahead and type community in there. I'm going to send you the information to go ahead and sign up. But that's my time, y'all. That's my time. I know I went way over, but I didn't think we needed to split it up. We're going to bring this back every week. So usually I do these on Sundays at 7. But I know this Sunday is Christmas, and I know people got things planned. So what we're gonna do is actually is New Year's Day, January 1st. So I might bring this back next Friday. Just take a look. Follow me. Follow me on Instagram at Fred Johnson the fourth. All one word, FredJohnsonTheForth. Follow me. Follow me on all my social media, y'all. I drop content every day. Again, I want to give it away. I want to give y'all all the things I wish all of my students knew. I wish I knew things I learned in my college journey. I'm gonna just give it to y'all. We can have dialogue. I want to make sure y'all know what moves to make and y'all can take action on it. So appreciate y'all. I will talk with y'all soon. Be easy.